On this channel, over a course of countless videos, I've lost count how many videos, I have charted the downfall of the millennial. That poor, sad generation, my generation, whom I dearly love, because we all understand each other and we all must huddle together, kind of like a herd of zebras or gazelles, as we're like trying to dodge insults from both the older generations, like especially the boomers. And then Gen Z was coming after us for a time, and then they like tag teamed and they started kicking us left and right. And I felt like as a generation, as the millennial generation, we kind of had to huddle together to stop getting our asses kicked by those older than us and those younger than us, you know? I have been charting the downfall of millennials in the cultural conversation since 2021. It was a bad year for my generation. 2021 was a dark turning point for millennials. That was when their cultural cred, if it was the stock market, it took like a giant dip. We were derided, mocked in many ways for our skinny jeans and our side parts. There were some millennials that were just kind of just really clinging on to their skinny jeans. Obviously, we grew up online, so, some people had to, sing about it. It was called the Millennial Meltdown, and that was when the first instance of what is known as millennial cringe happened. I believe somebody was singing, "I'm proud to be a millennial with my side part and skinny jeans." At that moment, a lot of people were like, "Oh, so cringe. She thought she owned people." I watched it and I was secretly thinking, "You sing it, girl. You sing it." And then there was another famous instance. Like, I think this was the most famous instance of millennial meltdowns, because it's always accompanied by a song. We're like a singing, dancing kind of generation. I mean, we originated the flash mob. I'm ashamed to say that I know all the lyrics.
Can suck it. You can't tell me what to wear, 'cause I've been rocking this side part since you had Kermit on your underwear. So cute.
Suck it. Can't tell us what to wear. Like this lady, I don't know who she is. I don't know if she's still TikToking or whatever, but at least she did her own singing. Whatever you have to say about her and her vibe, like her patronizing.
Had Kermit on your underwear. So cute.
Since you had Kermit on your underwear. Cute. That patronizing tone and telling Gen Z to go suck it. I mean, like, okay, first of all, if she's a millennial, at some point during the year 2000, SmackDown 2000 in the WWE, there was like a time when there was a faction in wrestling called DX, D Generation X, and their whole catchphrase was "suck it." As kids, we would just tell people to go suck it, and probably got in trouble. That was the cultural reference, guys. I'm just saying I know it's rude, but that's the cultural reference. I think she watched some wrestling. It just kind of sticks with us, and then as a millennial, we'd be like, she said suck it. Just like Triple H, that was a thing. Like, I had this friend during the book blog days, and she had this book blog where she gave a bunch of snarky reviews. Her profile on her blogger page was like, "You don't like my reviews? Suck it." And she was Gen X. I feel like that's more of like a Gen X attitude, because they're extreme, and then they go suck it. That was the Kurt Cobain attitude. That was kind of even the Spice Girl attitude. As impressionable millennials in the 90s, we always thought Gen X was cool. And we never made fun of them. We never made fun of them when we got older. We just forgot about them. So as a millennial, I got it. I find that the inside joke didn't cross generations. I know it's rude. It's not polite to tell people to go suck it in the scheme of all the rude people and all the rude things that could be said and done on the internet. It's just like a tiny drop of water in the great ocean of a-holes. So we have been mocked and shamed in many ways for like everything we held dear, for our fashion choices, our hairstyles, our jeans, our shoe choices, even down to our socks. Jennifer Lawrence, a millennial, stepping out in millennial socks. Was nothing sacred? Even our socks were not spared. We've been mocked for our socks, for having no-show socks, for showing our silly little ankles. But the no-show and ankle socks that went with the skinny jeans and the ankle boots, like, what are you gonna do, right? You got skinny jeans, it ended right there. You gotta, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, wear some high crew socks with your skinny jeans? Like, you can't even get them inside your skinny jeans. It all went together as a chain reaction. And then prior to getting, like, reamed by those younger than us, when we were younger, it was not as if like we could enjoy our youth culture in peace. We were perpetually pecked at by boomers. We were getting grief from boomers, which is really funny when you think about it, because we were their actual children. We didn't come out of Gen X's womb. We came out of like a boomer womb. We were their actual children. And yet it's like they kind of want to hurt us. They started making memes themselves. It's always a mean-spirited meme. And say what you will about millennials, sometimes our memes could be a little mean. A lot of the times they were self-deprecating memes. You know, we're making fun of our own selves. We're making fun of ourselves. But boomer memes were never self-deprecating. They always have this underlying feeling of meanness. The bully lives. Biff lives in the boomers. They always has this feeling of like, I'm gonna dunk this nerd in the toilet. We were mocked for our spending habits, like we spent too much on experiences, on travel, on food, avocado toast, and coffee. And that's the reason we can't buy a house at like 22, 23. But at the same time, we were mocked for not buying things, not valuing things that you could buy for your home. Because, you know, what home? Mocked for forays into minimalism. It's like you spend too much money on your food, but you don't spend enough money on knickknacks. You don't spend any money on decor. And when you do spend money on decor, it's like, we don't like your decor. Too much millennial gray, which is a moniker, by the way, that we were stuck with. You know, not everybody decorated in gray, okay? Do you see gray around me? We got blamed for our decorating choices, got called sad beige moms. That's in the parenting critique section of it too. We'll get into that later. Sad beige moms dressing our babies in natural colors, you know, earth tones. People were not having it with that. There's no color. Like, for some reason, we hate color, and we had a strange obsession with fall, which had nothing to do with gray. I thought it was pretty colorful, but that was also mocked as well. The commodification of fall. I felt like we've been through it since 2021 onward. Our millennial stock took a drastic decline. There was nothing sacred that wasn't on the table for mocking and shaming by those younger and older than us. We took it with grace, with the exception of like 2 people who melted down on TikTok. We took a lot of crap with grace. And now I'm proud to tell you, I am seeing signs of the millennial stock going up again. I've been seeing little peaks and spikes here and there. I'm seeing some stomp, clap, hey. I'm seeing some reminiscing of 2012 culture, 2012 indie culture. People want to be in an indie movie. I lived through the dark ages of the derision of millennials, and I survived it, and you've survived it too. And now I am proud to say that which was vilified and derided and mocked and shamed is no more. My people have been persecuted long enough. Like any hero's journey, we are in the upswing again. I'm a millennial and I like it. It brings tears to my eyes, guys. We are at the brink of a millennial redemption arc. Is it too late to give a disclaimer now that I've potentially offended every single generation, including my own? So all kidding aside, and I hope you guys can read that I'm kidding. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes my humor is so dry to the point where it just goes over some people's heads and then they think I'm serious. I'm just so deadpan that you think I'm serious and then you think I'm a horrible person, which I probably, I probably am, but I'm not as horrible as you think. I am bitchy, but I'm honest with you. I'm always honest with you. I've never tried to sell you a course, and I've never tried to sell you on Bitcoin. I never tried to sell you some plastic containers. I never tapped on some plastic containers and tried to sell that to you. I never tried to tell you to go deck out your Stanley Cup. So, I'm always honest with you. I'm just bitchy. Like, I have thorns and my heart might be 3 sizes too small, but what little heart I have is all gold, guys. It's all gold. At the heart of this millennial meltdown / chuggy war of denim and hairstyles. I think they were just very hurt that they were accused of being old and therefore irrelevant. I feel like maybe that's also the same way with boomers when they saw millennials, when they pointed to their china cabinet and they're like, this is for you. One day this will all be yours. And then their children, the millennials, are like, no, that's okay. That's okay. We don't want it. We just want our experiences. Well, back in my day, we saved up so we could buy this china cabinet that you're going to inherit. We don't spend it all on avocado toast that costs like 15 bucks a toast, but it's an experience. That's what you don't understand, Pops. That's what you don't understand, Gramps. It's an experience. And they're like, no, The only thing worthy of your money is china cabinet right here, which will be yours. That's okay. I don't want it. No, you're going to have it. You are going to have it. So I feel like that's the whole generational thing. Like, they were butthurt. Millennials didn't want their china cabinet. This is a sweeping generalization. Obviously, you know, if you're a boomer, you're not hauling around a china cabinet trying to foist it on millennials. And obviously, not all millennials are butthurt about like not being able to wear skinny jeans anymore. In 2021, and it seems like I'm making a big deal out of skinny jeans and side parts, and I'm gonna aggressively cling to them. No. When I heard that Gen Z has deemed that skinny jeans were out of style, I honestly didn't care. I had a selection of skinny jeans that I've collected over the years, but I wasn't married to them. And I gained some weight, so my legs were no longer skinny, so I can't really fit into them anyways. So it was no skin off my back, they're just pants. The shape of your jeans does not an identity make. When I heard that side parts were out of style, like millennial side parts, I mean, obviously I'm still rocking my side part. Like, it didn't really bother me. I'm still gonna rock my side part, just because I think it's a part that looks good on me. And if I part it down the middle, I don't dye my hair, so if I part it down the middle, you probably see all the gray hair and stuff. So it's a part that works for me. If it means that I'm old, I mean, I guess I am old. Like, what am I trying to do? Like, be 22? Like, I could catch what, the eye of a 22-year-old boy? Gross. So I can hang out with 22-year-olds? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, drive them to college? I was talking to my husband about how, like, we met in college. If we had a baby in college, we would literally be driving that baby to the same college. Oh my God. How old is that? I'm old enough to be your mother. The millennials who had the public meltdowns, I feel like it's a knee-jerk reaction to being called old. Or it's definitely implied that they're old. I don't know how pants, your jeans, the shape of your jeans became your identity. And if there's one advice I want to give you, is that your pants don't make you as a person. You know, you're not your pants, okay? A person can wear different types of jeans. In fact, I believe in a variety, except for barrel jeans. I'm not into that. I know that would not ever look good on me. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I went on multiple tangents today, but I just want to say, as of now, there's been signs that skinny jeans are making a comeback again. So all those who have hung on to their skinny jeans, you're vindicated in that sense. You didn't get rid of your skinny jeans, because I've been seeing signs that they're making a comeback. I saw something in Vogue about how they're on the runways again, but they're a little different from what we're used to. In our day, in the 2010s, it was more of a high-waisted skinny jeans, but we're seeing low-slung, low-rise skinny jeans coming back. I'm seeing some boot cuts, and obviously boot cuts were making a comeback last year. I don't know how I'm like so attuned to denim, but I'm attuned to denim and the skinny jean. There's been signs. I haven't seen it around, actually. The only skinny jeans I see around are from people who have kept their skinny jeans from 10 years ago and are still rocking them. Like, it's not like they're rocking them on purpose. They just didn't buy new jeans, which I guess is good in a sense. It's frugal. I'm not going to concentrate much on millennial trends that have made a comeback, because I feel like in the scheme of things, what has come back is not necessarily millennial trends, but a nostalgia for like a millennial mindset we're trying to replicate again, but we can't. On this channel, I've talked about the nostalgia for old tech, 90s, early 2000s tech, like digital cameras, the return to analog, the revival of old iMacs, flip phones, cell phones, like a general revolt against touch screens. The return to vinyl has been happening for some time. It was going on in the 2010s 2010s with the hipster revolution, there's a renewed interest in the twee aesthetic, which I talked about in one of my earliest videos when I was documenting it. The twee aesthetic was going down. I kind of had a negative twee thumbnail and I was trolled on Pinterest. Who gets trolled on Pinterest? Nobody trolls anybody on Pinterest. Once somebody called me an edgelord. I'm old. I don't even know what that means. So I looked that up. What's an edgelord? Somebody who causes rage, I guess. You'll never understand what twee is. You never lived it. But the whole video was about me living through the twee era. Anyways, I see a nostalgia for 2010s culture, for 2010s online culture, a renewed interest in vintage Instagram, vintage Valencia Instagram, of all the social media platforms that have come and gone throughout the years. Tumblr is held in high esteem with everyone because Tumblr, out of all the platforms, allowed you to be more expressive. There was like an authenticity about it. When you post or reposted something on Tumblr, or when you wrote a blog post, or you made, this is taking it way back, like a polyvore collage, you're doing it because you love doing it. You found an online community to share your passions with. You're nerding out and geeking out about the same things. Nobody was doing any of this for monetization. There might have been like little pop-up Google ads on your blogger or whatever, but that's like pebbles off the Andes. Like nobody gave a shit. Nobody was like trying to peddle off some junk through their associate link on Amazon. Nobody was doing it for clout. Nobody was doing it for like views or virality or anything. There was no algorithm. You discovered who you discovered through like an extensive Google search or something. You geeked out with these people, and then your interactions with each other were all very positive. That's the kind of enthusiasm, the kind of authenticity that millennials had online. For a while, when their stock took a dip, it was considered cringe to geek out on the internet. It was considered the norm at that time. And then later on, it was considered cringe. Like the flash mob was kind of cool during the 2010s. But then if you go into the 2020s, is that if anybody did a flash mob, but there was a genuine unfiltered joy about it that I don't even know if you could replicate now. I've heard that right now in the online culture, there's a lot of stuff going on in online culture, but we are in an irony epidemic. I noticed a difference. In 2010, I could put out a book review, some random book, and I don't get that many reads on it in my book blog. I would get maybe like 5 comments, and they were long, genuine comments. People talking about the book or about my review, and nobody's trying to get many likes on their comments because there was no button in which you could like their comment. You know, nobody's trying to get any attention here. They just want to talk about the books, or they're talking to me. Nowadays, I feel like there's more of a epidemic of snarky one-liners. I see that in TikTok when I read some TikTok comments. The ones that have the most likes is always like a snarky one sentence comment. I'm thinking, yes, you're clever and all, but what kind of connection are you trying to make with that person, with that creator? You're not really trying to make a connection when you do a one line snarky comment. I don't really even know what your purpose is. If you leave just like a one sentence comment, like what kind of relationship are you trying to build? Obviously you're not trying to build a relationship, but I always wonder what the motive is. Like, what is the purpose of engaging with somebody on social media if you don't even want to establish a relationship and you just want to say something mean to hurt them? What do you get out of that? Like, does it make you feel better to know that you really owned somebody? In any event, whoa. That was a long fucking aside. The mindset that millennials had when they were online, the goal was to form the connection. But because you were so sincere and so, I guess, nerdy and authentic, that fell out of vogue for a while. And it was considered cringe or millennial cringe. Like even that lady who was singing her own song. I mean, for whatever you want to say about her, she did her own singing. Of course, it was in bad faith. I don't know how long it took her to write out those lyrics. She played the keyboard. And that's why it's cringe, because it's like the effort she put in, the effort involved in spiting Gen Z is very, very cringe. Versus if she were just to lip sync to some song or to, I don't know, bob her head to like a line of a song. It's like the effort and the spite, obviously. The effort was the cringe. And I said before, that kind of effort was what millennials did online. Not necessarily the attitude, but just that kind of effort. And now I feel like millennials were kind of caught in this, like in the collateral damage of the Gen Z irony epidemic. That whole sentence was chronically online right there. I read this article a few months ago. I hope I could find the article right here about how there's like this fear of being cringe online, and this irony epidemic is making it really hard for people to date online on dating apps, for younger people, anybody to date, because people are so afraid of seeming cringe and they're so concerned with seeming cool. You know, if you drop a snippy one-liner, it's like you're cool. Writing a whole paragraph of your feelings, not cool. But writing like a snarky one-liner is cool. But then the problem is, if you don't show any of your personality for fear of appearing vulnerable, how are you ever going to meet anybody who likes you for you? What are you telling them about yourself other than like a tagline? In the absence of seeing who you really are and what you really are interested in, the only thing that people could judge you for are your looks. Honestly, those are not the type of people that you would want to be with. So this irony epidemic, I feel like people have kind of sick of it. It's very tiring to live in perpetual nihilism. And when millennials were more authentic and they were kind of like made fun of, called cringe for it, but now experiencing massive attrition for just never making any connection with anybody whatsoever because these one-liners are not getting you anywhere. Millennials have now transcended from cringe to delightfully cringe. Like there's maybe still a little cringe, but in an endearing way, like an endearing cringe. So that's where we are now. So now millennial music, the hipster music with a lot of percussion, the twee whisperer, you know, that husky voice twee singer. I wouldn't say that they're making a comeback, but it's definitely part of the conversation again. Seeing little spikes of oh, that was a time. And there was a spoof video of the stomp clap hey hipster music, which I thought was pretty funny. It's like, oh, so true. So true. There was a mini reappreciation of Girls, HBO Girls, which aired between 2012 to 2017. What I can infer from a Girls, I wouldn't say mini revival, but like a mini appreciation of Girls is the romanticization of 2012, the whole nostalgia and vibe of 2012 culture, just being young and living in New York in your 20s, which a lot of people at some point aspired to doing. I know I definitely did. I've always aspired to live like Meg Ryan did in You've Got Mail when I was young. I'm like, that's the life. I mean, I didn't really consider that she was kind of put out of business, like her bookstore was put out of business by a bigger bookstore, who therein will probably be put out of business by Amazon or something. But she if it worked out for her in the end, okay, she ended up writing picture books. I have always romanticized living in New York, and it kind of threw me for a loop because I'm like, 2012 wasn't that long ago, and then I realized 2012 was a long time ago. And 2012, I would say that if you look back at it with rose-colored glasses, it feels a little bit more cozier than now. 2012 for me, I was living a peak millennial life, like hitting all the millennial stereotypes, but not in a good way. I was underemployed. I was living back home with my parents. I was trying to sell my novel or trying to get an agent for my novel, and I got rejected. I don't even know how many times, probably in the hundreds of times. I deleted all my rejection letters. I don't want to remember that. So I was writing a novel on a laptop in which the space bar kept falling off and the E kept falling off. I had to like put it back on as I wrote, so it went E space. And then I was wearing weird little shoes, had a face full of acne, all the issues of your 20s. And you think back about like the crux of Girls, like all about your Fleabag era, making bad choices, millennial life crises, but in New York City. And I find it kind of jarring that that's now romanticized by somebody younger, as in like, I wish I could go through a millennial life crisis in New York City in 2012 in Brooklyn and wear like a full-on Madewell outfit. Unanimously, millennials in America, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know about other parts of the world. If you're a millennial from England, from Australia, from whatever part of the country, let me know how your childhood was like. But unanimously, the reason we have so much 90s nostalgia and to an extent 80s nostalgia is because unanimously unanimously, as millennials in the United States, the 90s childhood was like the peak childhood. The 90s was like the peak time to be a kid. We had the best childhood. And if I were to think back and remove the rose-colored glasses, we had our issues. It was not perfect. You know, I had this perp that just kept calling me on the phone when I was 8, and that darkened my childhood a little. But overall, we had such a good childhood that most of us didn't want to leave it. In fact, when I was in 7th grade, some of the more popular girls, they would come to school with Sesame Street backpacks. I mean, they were like 13 years old and they were carrying around Sesame Street backpacks. And I'm like, I want to buy a Sesame Street coloring book. And my mom's like, "Why? You're like 12 years old. Why do you want items from a preschooler?" It's because at 12, I didn't want to grow up. I know like boomers, maybe Gen X, is that when you're like 12, 13, you want to grow up. You want to be a teenager already. You want to be an adult already. But no, not us. Most of us didn't want to grow up. We were in middle school and we already didn't want to grow up because our childhood was so good. We had the worst adulthoods ever. Like, if you think about Fantine's I Dreamed a Dream song in Les Mis, my voice is so shot right now. I would love to sing the song for you because I think I do a pretty good rendition. But I've been talking all day long, so I can't. But like at the end of the song where she says, what did she say? Dream the dream of time gone by, where life is soft and world of living. Dream the moment he forgiving. I had a dream my life would be so different from this hell I'm living. So different now than what it seemed. Life has killed the dream I dreamed. I feel like that's the millennial adulthood right there. We had the best childhood. It gave us a lot of hope. Like a lot of hope. It set us up for a promising future. And then ever since we graduated from college, it's been disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. Let's just say you're an elder millennial. You enter college, 9/11. You graduate from college, it's 2008 recession. If you had a job at the time, you were low man on the totem pole, gone, laid off. And you didn't have a job at the time, hiring freeze. Not many companies hiring. I guess you just have to take a job in which you're overqualified for, and you probably didn't need to go to college to do in the first place. And then you finally get it together, and then, oh, what happened? 2020 happened. So you want to start out, and you just want a simple, tiny little starter home. Now that is way out of everybody's price range. Now I hear that there's a great flattening of millennial manager positions where if you're not laid off already, and then everybody's getting laid off around you, you're stuck managing twice your team, or you're not getting promoted, or you're not moving out to move up, you're stagnant again. So it feels like every chance that you have to move up, then you kind of get knocked down by external forces out of your control. Some people have done well despite all that, and some people have not. I wonder, and you can let me know what you think about this. Is it better to grow up with hope for a better future and then have life kill the dream that you dreamed? Or is it better to not have any hope at all? Maybe that's how Gen Z feels like. If you're Gen Z, let me know. Have you ever grown up with hope? Is it better to grow up with hope and then have that hope squashed? Or is it better to grow up with no hope at all? In my perspective, it's really harsh to grow up with hope, thinking that you're going to own the world and then have that hope quickly squashed by external factors out of your control. But in times of darkness, like now, I'm very grateful that I was able to have at least a 90s childhood to at least think about, because it makes me feel like hope will come again. But what if you're younger and you never grew up with any hope, and now corporations are doing their darndest to just screw up your life by replacing you with AI? I mean, it's a issue for millennials as well, but it was hard getting into the job force in 2008. Maybe several years will go by before you even get a job, and the job you get is not even worthy of your college degree. 2008, 2009, 2010, like, people didn't recover in their careers. Millennials starting out, a lot of us couldn't even recover in our careers because a lot of emphasis is based on, like, what have you been doing for the past 3 years after you graduated from college? Working this sales job to make ends meet? I don't know, the world is doing its darndest to just kind of shackle young people. And now I hear that in 5 years or so, all the entry-level jobs will be replaced by AI. So then How do you expect to even have a workforce if you can't start them at entry-level jobs? You're going to start them at manager jobs? I don't really foresee a company go like, okay, this person with no experience, yeah, I'm going to put you in charge of this whole division. The person who's already there at the company will just stay there stagnant. Everybody who graduates, like, what the hell is going to happen to them? That's a question that we all are curious to know. I kind of want to conclude that Gen Z has it worse than millennials. I don't know if you guys ever had hope. And that's what I'm so sad about for you. Like, I want to give you hope, but I don't know what to do. I can speak only for myself, is that I have the memory of a golden 90s childhood to look back on in times of darkness, which we're in now. The fact that I knew that hope existed in the 90s makes me optimistic that it might exist again. Very slightly optimistic. In a giant wasteland, a dandelion grows. A 90s dandelion. I'm not trying to gloat that like I had a great 90s childhood and now it's shit. I guess the 2010s and the mid-aughts are your 90s childhood, and that's your hope right there. Just rewatching Girls, or maybe Stomp Clap Hey will bring you some hope. If we're all in some dark dystopian world, just look out, and maybe somewhere out there, there's a millennial, a very enthusiastic millennial, maybe that lady who did her spiteful, patronizing song. Maybe she's changed her tune, and maybe now she's Stomp Clap Haying as a beacon of light to give you hope in this dark world. Well, that was sad. But I can't guarantee that all videos will end on a positive note. We need somebody to cheer us up now that I've like sufficiently depressed all of you guys. So if you have any hope at all for humans, for this world, drop the sunflower down below. If you are in some kind of nihilistic abyss that I am sometimes in, then drop this coffin down below. But please don't depress us any more than I already have. I had a dream that life would be so different from this hell I'm living. So different from this hell I'm living. So different now than what it seemed. Life has killed the dream. Life has killed the dream I dreamed.